I live alone in a quiet suburb just outside Green, isolated, and a little too quiet at times. It's a kind of place where you can hear your heart beat at night if you listen hard enough. My house is tucked away in the corner of a cul-de-sac, with only 3 other homes nearby. It's peaceful, safe, or so I thought. Last Friday night, there was a scheduled power outage announced by the electricity board. From 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., the grid would be down for maintenance. No big deal. I stocked up on candles, charged my phone, and figured I'd go to bed early. I've been through blackouts before, but this one was different. At exactly 11:02 p.m., the entire neighborhood plunged into pitch black. Not the kind of darkness you adjust to. This was complete. No streetlights, no moonlights, just a thick sheet of black, like someone threw a blanket over the sky. I lit a candle in the living room and settled down with a book, his phone at my side. Around 11:40 p.m., I heard something outside. It wasn't loud, it's just a faint scraping like metal against concrete. I paused, turned my head toward the window. Nothing. Probably a dog or a tree branch, I told myself. Then the scraping came again. Closer this time. Longer. Scrock. Scrock. I got up, candle in hand, and looked out through the peephole. Darkness. No lights from the neighboring homes. Not even solar lanterns. That was on. Mr. Giant across the street always kept one on for his dog. I tried the switch for the porch light out of habit. Nothing. Of course. Blackout then. I heard it. 3 soft knocks on my front door. Tap, tap, tap. I didn't open it. Instead, I stood there, barely breathing. No one was supposed to be out here. No one had called. No footsteps. No car. No sound at all besides those knocks. Then silence. And then something even worse. A whisper. So close, I felt it against my ear. Don't look outside. I dropped the candle. Asterisk. When the candle hit the floor, its flames sputtered out, and the darkness swallowed me whole. My phone was on the sofa, 10 feet away. May as well have been a mile. I froze, my ears strained for any sound. Breathing, creaking, a hint of movement, nothing, and then footsteps on the roof. Slow, deliberate, my knees buckled. I sat there on the cold tiles of the floor, too afraid to move, too afraid to even whisper to myself that this wasn't real. Then my phone buzzed. A single vibration. I lunged for it, lit up the screen. No messages, no notifications. But my flashlight had turned on. I didn't do that. I aimed the light around the room. Everything was as I left it. Door still closed. Window shut. Then I noticed. On the hallway wall. My mirror had fogged up. There were words written into it, like someone breathing heavily had etched them into the mist. It said, "Look at me." I did something incredibly stupid. I pointed my phone light at the mirror. My reflection wasn't alone. Behind me was a tall, black figure, faceless, featureless, standing, waiting. I spun around. Nothing. Empty hallway. I turned back to the mirror. Still there. Closer now. This isn't happening, I told myself. This can't be real. I ran to the front door and opened it without thinking. Pitch black, thick, moonless night. But now, all 3 houses opposite mine had their doors wide open. Wide, as if someone had gone through. All of them. One by one. The scraping sound came again. From behind me, inside the house, I slammed the front door and ran into my bedroom. I locked the door and pushed the dresser against it. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type, but I texted my friend Priya, Something's in my house. Please, call police. No power, no light. Help. No ticks, no delivery. Then the sounds started again, not from the roof. From inside the walls. First a knock, then a laugh. A whispering laugh, like someone was amused. A teed crawled inside my skull. I curled up under the bed, phone in hand. The flashlight flickered. The battery dropping rapidly, 65%, then 40%, then 12%. It's like something was feeding on it. And then the door handle turned. Once, twice, rattled violently. I held my breath. My eyes locked on the gap beneath the door. Just inches of visible space. Something passed by. Not feet, not shoes. Hooves. Hooves. The doorknob stopped rattling. Silence again. Until I heard breathing. Low, animalistic. Right outside. Then a deep voice. Distorted and wrong. Like it was underwater. You opened the door. Now it's always open. And just like that, the power came back. All the lights blinked on. My phone buzzed. Non-stop messages. Missed calls. The mirror in the hallway was clear. No writing. No figure. I ran out of the house, barefoot, into the street. Priya arrived 20 minutes later with her brother. They didn't believe a word until I showed them the photos. I had taken one of the mirror in the background. In the reflection of my dark hallway. A figure stood. It was watching, smiling. Epilogue. I sold the house. I moved to a crowded apartment building with generators and security and people everywhere. But last night, at 2:13 a.m., my new building had a blackout. It's mine known on my bathroom mirror. The words appeared again. I'm still inside. It was a Wednesday night, June 5th, 2024. I remember the date clearly because that's when the entire sector of my town Vikas Nugar lost power at 12:07 a.m. sharp. No warning, no announcement. Just an instant, suffocating blackness. I was staying in my cousin's old house while he worked abroad. It's a single-story place at the edge of a half-abandoned neighborhood. Trees leaned over the walls. Stray dogs fought at night. People rarely walked after dark. I didn't mind it. It gave me space to write, think, be alone. Or at least that's what I thought I wanted. That night, I was brushing my teeth, phone charging next to the sink. The lights flickered once, then died. The fan stopped. The water pressure dipped. Everything fell into a silence that wasn't natural. I walked into the hallway, barefoot, and the darkness was thick. You don't realize how much you rely on artificial light until it's gone. My phone screen lit up like a beacon. It tated. No signal. No Wi-Fi. Then I noticed something strange. Through the window at the end of the hallway, I saw my neighbor's house, the one that's been empty for almost a year, lit up like a bonfire inside. It's yellow, flickering light, like dozens of candles, or oil lamps burning all at once. Squinted. There was movement behind the curtains. Shadowy figures, dancing, or maybe shifting. I couldn't be sure. Then every light in that house went out. Once, I thought maybe I was overtired. Maybe it was a battery-powered emergency lamp, or something logical, until someone knocked. On my back door. 3 knocks. I froze. No one uses the back entrance. It opens into a fenced area with overgrown grass and broken tiles. No street access. No reason for anyone to be there. Nothing move, nothing speak. But the knocks came again, harder. Thump, thump, thump. Then, something slid through the mail slot. A handwritten note, scrawled in uneven red ink. Black hours have begun. Do not look outside. My power never came back that night. Asterisk I spent the next hour huddled in the kitchen with a flashlight. Every time I turned it off, it felt like the dark was alive, pressing in, listening. I didn't dare open the note again. I left it where it fell, but the words had burned into my mind. Do not look outside. At around 1:30 a.m., I heard a loud noise from the living room. Glass shattering. I ran in with the flashlight shaking in my grip. One of the front windows had been smashed from the outside. But there was no rock, no branch, no sign of what broke it, just a jagged hole like something clawed inward. The air had changed. It was colder. And there was a smell like damp soil and rusted metal. Then I noticed my phone. The screen was on, and a new note app had opened on its own. One I'd never installed. Only one word was typed across the blank screen. Greater than. Look. My heart stopped. The front door creaked open on its own. I ran and slammed it shut, bolting the chain. Locked every window. Closed the curtains. Still, the darkness felt like it had leaked in. Then the whispers began. Not outside. Not in the distance. Inside my house. Behind the doors. Beneath the bed. In the walls. I heard my name. Over and over. Like it was being repeated from the other side of a dream. Different voices. Some childlike. Some in gasps. Some mechanical. Greater than Rihan. Come to the dark. I backed into the hallway and nearly screamed. There were footprints. Wet ones. Leading from the broken window straight down the corridor. Into my bedroom. And my bedroom door was wide open. I didn't go in. I didn't even breathe. Because then I saw something worse. On the wall opposite the footprints, smeared in black ash, was a sentence. You looked. Asterisk at 3:12 a.m. I called. The police. No signal. His phone kept glitching, apps opening and closing. A voice recording played randomly. Even though I never clicked it. Greater than the black hours begin at 12:07. If you see them, they see you. If you hear them, they're already inside. That was not my voice. I ran to the bathroom, locked the door, sat in the tub with a kitchen knife. It was the only place with no windows taught from there. I could hear my bedroom door slowly creak shut, then open again, then footsteps, then nothing. I sat there until daylight, or what I thought was daylight. At 6:48 a.m., the power returned. The lights blinked on. The fan spun. My phone had signal again. I cautiously stepped out. The footprints were gone. The shattered glass repaired. No note. No smeared writing. I thought maybe I hallucinated the entire night until I checked my photo gallery. There were 17 new images, all taken while my phone was locked. Blurry photos of my hallway, my bedroom, and just one of me, asleep. In the tub, with something tall and hunched over standing behind me. Its eyes were 2 white dots. No pupils, no mouth. I left the house that day. Never returned. Now I live in a high-rise apartment in Mumbai, surrounded by people and generators and lights that never go off. But sometimes, at 12:07 a.m. sharp, my phone buzzes with a message from no number. Greater than the black hours remember you. It happened 3 weeks ago. And I still don't sleep without the lights on. My name's Aryan. I was staying at my grandfather's old house in Danur, Kuna. He passed last year, and the property was empty since. The family asked me to stay for a few weeks while we decided whether to sell or renovate. The house is old, but still solid, a two-bedroom bungalow with a walled yard. It's an iron gate and those long rectangular windows with wooden shutters. I was on my laptop, working late, in the living room when it happened. It was exactly 3:04 a.m. I remember glancing at the corner of the screen, the time glowing back at me when everything cut out. Click, silence, power gone. Now. I've lived through power outages before, but this wasn't that. It wasn't just the lights and fan. My laptop shut off, despite being fully charged. My watch stopped ticking. Even the solar-powered garden lights outside blinked off. Total blackout. It's not a flicker left in the world. At first, I just sat there, letting my eyes adjust. I thought maybe it was a blown fuse or some grid failure. I grabbed my phone. It turned on, but the screen wouldn't respond. It's like it was frozen. The clock was stuck on 3:04. Then the strangest thing. No night sounds. No insects. Crickets. No dogs. Just a dense silence. Like the world had muted itself. That's when I heard it. A tap. On the window behind me. Not hard. Not like someone knocking. It was light, rhythmic, like a single finger. Tapping in a pattern. Tap, dash, tap, 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 tap. I turned around slowly. My heartbeat was in my throat. I couldn't see anything, but I knew it wasn't a branch or wind. It was deliberate. I stepped to the window, froze, because I saw a face, pale, pressed against the glass, mouth wide open, not smiling, just open. It's like it had been that way too long. Its eyes were completely black. Then, in a split second, it was gone. Asterisk, asterisk. I backed away from the window and tripped over the table. My knee slammed into the floor, but I didn't feel pain. That's panic. I crawled toward the hallway, using only the dim moonlight coming through the gaps in the wooden shutters. The house felt off, like the air had changed texture, heavier, thicker, and everything still showed. 3:04 a.m. I went into the bedroom, hoping maybe the emergency light in the cupboard still had charge. As I opened the door, I caught a reflection in the mirror above the dresser. It wasn't me. It looked like me, yes, but older, sunken with blood running from its ears and mouth. Its eyes locked on mine. I stepped back, hard, blinked, gone. The mirror was empty. I swung the cupboard open. The emergency light turned on, but only for 3 seconds. And in those seconds, the entire room changed. The walls were covered in what looked like ash and dried blood. Dozens of handprints smeared across the door and floor. The light blinked off. I stood in the pitch black, trembling. Then I heard a whisper, not in the room, but in my ear, as if someone was standing right next to me. Greater than you weren't supposed to see 3:04. I sprinted to the main door, tried to yank it open. Locked. Deadbolt wouldn't move. I hadn't locked it. Then I noticed the message on the inside of the door, carved deep into the wood. Someone had dug it in with nails. Greater than don't. Let IT when IT knocks twice. And, of course, just then knock, asterisk. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The door remained still. The air was so quiet it almost hurt. Then came the sound of bare feet on tiles. Behind me, slow, sticky steps. I turned, raising the dead emergency. Light, like a weapon. Nothing. Just darkness. But the temperature dropped. I could see my breath. I ran to the window in the kitchen, forced it open, climbed out into the yard. The soil felt soaked. I looked down, footprints all over the yard. There, feet, small ones, like children's, but too many, all walking in different directions. I turned toward the road. The street was gone. I don't mean it was dark. I mean it wasn't there. The gate opened into blackness. No sky, no ground. Just a pulsing void, like an ink cloud frozen in place. I backed into the wall, screaming into the dark, begging for this to end. Then everything snapped, like a rubber band. Breaking, the lights returned. The fan spun. My watch ticked. Phone buzzed with missed calls. I was back, in the hallway. The house silent, normal. Time was now 3:17 a.m. I stood in the middle of the living room, shaking, drenched in sweat. I rushed outside. The street was there. Neighbors' porch lights on. Even the dogs were barking again. It was like nothing had happened, until I got home the next day. I opened my phone gallery. One video had saved. It's just one dot. It's 11 seconds long. It shows me, sitting on the living room floor in the dark, his head tilted back, eyes rolled white, mouth open in a silent scream. And behind me, that same pale face, its hands on my shoulders, and the timestamp. 3:04 a.m. It happened last month. May 18th, 2025. I was alone in my apartment in Noida, Sector 77, 10th floor. I'd just finished dinner, leftover biryani, and half a can of Coke when the power suddenly cut off. It was exactly 11:46 p.m. I checked my wall clock by phone, light to be sure. Now, power cuts aren't rare here, especially during summer. The fan worried to a stop didn't worry me. The apartment dipped into quiet, but there was something unnatural about this silence. Wasn't just power. My phone lost signal instantly. No mobile data, not even emergency calls. I stood up and looked out from my balcony. What I saw chilled me to the bone. Every other building in view was black too, but not just unlit. They looked vacant, hollow, abandoned, like they hadn't been lived in for years. I stared harder. Where were the other residents? This was a packed sector, and yet, not a single lit window, not one sound. Then I noticed something moving. A figure, on a balcony across from me. Just standing, still, arms by its side. It was looking right at me. The phone light dimmed again. I turned away from the balcony, uneasy. That's when I noticed the red writing on my wall. Just above my TV, greater than you were meant to sleep. I hadn't written that. I hadn't seen that all evening. I checked again my hallway, the kitchen, my bedroom, same writing, again and again, like graffiti done by a blind hand. Greater than you woke up too much. You shouldn't see them. The blackout is not for you. Tina didn't understand until the knocking started. 3 knocks. From the inside of my bathroom. I remember backing into the corner of the living room, heart punching my ribs. The knocks didn't come again, but now I could hear something, subtle breathing, inside the walls. I picked up my phone. The screen flickered violently, then went completely black. Not even the backlight worked anymore. That's when the hallway light turned on. Only the hallway. Everything else was still dead. But that one overhead bulb was flickering, casting long shadows along the corridor. I stepped closer, hesitant. The air was thick now, like I was moving underwater. The breathing was louder. As I entered the hallway, steadied, and I saw a man standing at the far end, next to the fuse box. He wore a black shirt, hands tucked behind his back, face pale as chalk, but his eyes were missing. Just dark, empty sockets, like holes drilled into his skull. He didn't move, didn't speak. Then he tilted his head, slow and sharp like something mechanical, greater than you, stayed awake. He smiled, though his teeth weren't right. Too many. Too long. The hallway lights went out again. When they returned, he was gone, but the fuse box was open. Inside, stuck among the wires, was something that shouldn't have been there. A human tooth, bloody at the root, still warm. I ran to the front door, pulled, kicked, screamed. The bolt refused to move, then something laughed behind me. Not loud, playful, like a child trying to mimic an adult. I turned back and saw the living room again. It wasn't my living room. It looked the same structurally, but the furniture was gone. The walls were stained. The windows were boarded shut from the inside, and across the floor, footprints, wet, bare, leading from the center of the room to where I stood. But no one was there. The clock now read 12:09 a.m. My blackout had lasted 23 minutes, but I hadn't lived in those 23 minutes. I de-entered something else. Asterisk at 12:10 a.m. The electricity came back. Everything snapped on the fridge, the fan, the hallway light, but I didn't feel relief, because the writing was gone. The tooth had vanished. The fuse box was shut tight again, and most terrifying of all, my phone had restarted. And there was a new video in my gallery. It was exactly 23 minutes long. Footage showed me asleep on the couch, but I hadn't slept. It's been awake the whole time. Except in the video, I never moved once, until something crawled into the frame. A long, pale figure, backwards knees, no face. It climbed from the kitchen, over the sofa, and sat on my chest, just watching me. Then not exactly 12:09 a.m. It leaned close to the camera and whispered, "Greater than he'll forget again, but we won't." I dropped the phone. I packed a bag and left the building that night. Went to a friend's house across town and stayed for days. When I returned, nothing seemed off, until I checked my wall clock. It always pauses every night at 11:46. Even now, even tonight, even while you're reading this. My name is Ravi, and this happened just 2 weeks ago in Gurugram. I was staying alone in my cousin's flat on the 5th floor of a newly built residential society block D, Tower 3. They had gone on a honeymoon trip to Thailand, and I'd agreed to house sit for a week. The building was modern, quiet, and clean, but something about it always felt sterile. No noise, no life. The night it happened, I had just finished watching something on Netflix when the lights suddenly went out. All of them. Not a flicker, just instant darkness. I checked my phone. 2:17 a.m. Wi-Fi was gone. Mobile network on too. I stood up, thinking maybe it was a temporary outage, but the air felt wrong, heavy, stale, cold. The power didn't just go out. Everything stopped. Even the faint buzzing you usually hear from the fridge or appliances dead. My phone flashlight wouldn't turn on, not even a glow. I tried calling my cousin. Nothing. Then I stepped toward the window and looked out. What I saw was not normal. The city. Wasn't there no streetlights, no car lights, no moon, no distant towers, just a solid, endless black, like someone had erased the world. Then the elevator bell rang. It rang once, then again, then again. 3, Times. Slow, clear, in a completely powerless building. I opened the door cautiously, peered into the hallway. It was darker than it should have been, darker than darkness. That's when I saw someone standing inside the lift, not moving, not pressing anything, just staring right at my door. And then, V smiled. Asterisk, I slammed the door shut and backed away. But something had changed inside the flat. V's silence wasn't just outside any more, it had crept in. I could hear my own heartbeat, and something else, whispering, not loud, not in my ears, us, but inside the walls. And they were saying my name, Ravi. Wake up. He's watching. I ran to the fuse box near the kitchen, flipped every switch. Nothing. Not even a spark. I opened the door to the bedroom, hoping maybe I could just lie down and make this pass. But it wasn't my cousin's bedroom anymore. It was empty. No bed, no furniture, no windows. It's just cold cement walls and a floor with wet footprints leading in. I heard the whisper again. Closer. You were warned not to stay past 217. Then something started scratching the main door. Not knocking, not pounding, scratching, like nails or claws, trying to peel the door open from the outside. I panicked, ran toward the balcony. I thought maybe I could jump to the neighbor's flat, or at least scream for help. But when I opened the sliding glass door, there was nothing outside. Not the road, not the parking lot, not even the sky. Just blackness, and from that void too. Pale hands slowly reached up and gripped the edge of the balcony. Fingers long, veiny, barely human. I froze. Then someone spoke from behind me. Greater than you weren't supposed to be in 5B. I turned. There, and for a moment, I saw myself standing in the hallway. But older, mouth sewn shut, skin gray, hair falling out in clumps, and my eyes completely wiped out. It tilted its head and pointed at the clock on the wall. 2:17. Still. UNMOVING. No matter how much time passed. Asterisk. I don't know how I made it out. The next thing I remember clearly is waking up on the staircase, halfway between the 5th and 4th floor. The building lights were back. My phone worked. It was 5:46 a.m. I ran outside, barefoot, confused, shaking. The security guard stared at me like I was crazy. When I asked him about the power cut, he said there was no blackout reported last night. No complaints. No elevator failure. Nothing. Told him I was in 5B. He looked at me strange. Beta, there's number 5B. That flat's never been constructed. It's only 5A and 5C. I thought he was messing with me. Kaka, he was right. Where my cousin's flat should have been there was just a wall. No door, no number plate. I stood there for over 10 minutes, unable to move. Then my phone buzzed. A new message. From my own number. It read, Greater than you were there too long. We've kept a copy. Don't stay awake. Next time, 217 is watching.